Okay, let's get started. Welcome everybody. I am Maxime Jacquet. I'm a principal cloud architect. I'm coming from Paris in France, and I'm very happy to be with you this morning to discuss modern software development on the Salesforce platform through this introduction to Salesforce DX session. Okay, so before I begin, I have to remind you that you need to make your buying decision based on product and services that are currently available. So the first question is, why did we actually invest into developer tools? And the reason is you, actually. You're probably here because you are part of this community of developers that we are fortunate and very happy to have more than 4.3 million members in the developer community right now. And that's really the reason why we decided to invest. So building on the Salesforce platform, it's not only developers, there's also admins and business analysts, but really Salesforce DX is about the professional developers. And so if you look at the historically Salesforce, we've more focused on the low code and no code part of the spectrum. And we thought, what if we started with developers? How would it be? What would we do? So we went on the road, discussed with customers, with developers, with people that actually didn't want to use Salesforce to understand what we should build and how we should do it if we wanted to reinvent basically software development on the platform. So out of this discussion, we came with these 7 principles of modern software delivery. Okay, so I'm going to quickly discuss them because they are the foundation of how we built and designed Salesforce DX. So the first one is that everything is driven from source code. Okay, so of course the production org is always a source of truth, but here it's a way to externalize code into a version control system so that you kind of decouple that from the production org. And we also heard from most of you that Sandbox are a very good tool, especially when it comes to staging, UAT, performance testing, but you wanted to have more easily created, disposable environment to do your test and ideation processes. So that's one of the key theme that we have. And it also comes with metadata and the code that is modular. Okay, so you can think of it as packages. Okay, so packages of code instead of just a bunch of unstructured data and metadata in the org. Okay. Also, you told us that collaboration is very important. You need to drive collaboration for your developer teams, but also collaboration between the developers, the admins, the business analysts. So really a key principle that goes with the next one, that is at the heart of Salesforce DX, the openness, basing everything on open standards and allowing you to extend it or and use extensibility to integrate with IDEs and this kind of stuff. And this is a key aspect to actually be able to facilitate continuous integration, continuous delivery, and make automating tests far more easier. So that's really one of the key themes. And finally, we wanted to support agile development processes and support that with new packaging capabilities that are more agile. So Salesforce DX is all about building together and deliver continuously. Okay, so it's source-driven development. You can use the version control system of your choice, the one you already like or use, like GitHub or Bitbucket, and it really will help you into do some tests, branch out, test some new stuff with confidence that you're not going to break your production or break what you are doing. And this will also enable team collaboration. Okay, team collaboration is, in the end, is about increasing productivity and making it quicker to actually develop and be on market with a product. And part of these aspects come also from continuous integration and delivery. Okay, the time to market comes also from the ability to actually test, and by providing these tools, you can ensure high quality code and more automation. And also, open is prescriptive. I told you about the fact that open was at the heart of Salesforce DX. So it's really, you already use some tools, and you probably like some tools better than others. And we just want to make sure that you can use what you know and love, and just integrate Salesforce, the Salesforce platform, as part of this process. So we're really happy that Salesforce DX is now generally available. And so you can all start working with it right now, and we'll come back to that a bit later. So, as we said, it's all about improving the developer experience, but it's not only for developing, it's across all the application lifecycle management. Okay, so think of Salesforce DX not as a toolkit, but as a set of tools, and you can adopt one of these tools and not the other at first, and then grow with your usage of Salesforce DX with time. And so across this spectrum, there is few aspects I want to discuss this morning. It's mainly the CLI. So the Salesforce CLI is a very powerful tool that will allow you to automate the test. It provides access to metadata, to data, to a lot of tools that are into a single CLI, and that you can integrate with third parties, IDEs, and with the language services and everything. You get to use the tools you know and love. And in addition to that, there is the scratch orgs. So the scratch orgs are this disposable environment we were talking about. So you just spin a new scratch org, takes a few seconds, and you're ready to push your code and pull the change that you've made. So it's really this quick way to test, to do ideation, and you can also share them so that you can collaborate as a team. A developer can build code, push it into a scratch org, and share it with an admin to have his point of view and maybe have some changes made in the scratch org. So that's what actually I'll be demonstrating in a minute. And a key aspect of that is that sandbox are still very important in this process. Okay, as I told her earlier, the sandboxes are very important for staging, performance testing, UAT, and they will stay for that. Think of it as mostly scratch orgs will replace dev orgs, basically. But then you will still use the sandbox for what they're good at, and that is this last part of the ALM process. So I think the best way to actually discuss Salesforce DX is actually to do a demo. So in this demo, I will actually pull code from GitHub. I actually already did this part, but just so you know, that's what I did earlier. And then we're going to make, I'm a developer, and I'm going to make some change to it locally, create a scratch org, push this code to the scratch org, edit it, okay, make some changes again, pull that back to my local developer machine, commit and push to GitHub, and then the rest is automation. In this case, I'm using Travis CI that will pick up that code, create a scratch org, do the tests, Apex tests, that can be other tests, verify that everything is okay, and if everything is okay, push in a sandbox for the rest of the ALM process to happen. Okay, so let's dive in. So the first things I'm going to do is have a look at the CLI. So I'm in the terminal, and I'm going to paste this first command that is actually going to create a scratch org. Okay, you provide a scratch org definition file. Okay, that will tell you the shape of the scratch org, what type of features that it has enabled, and all of that. Let's have a quick look at the code. It takes a few seconds for the scratch org to be created and ready. So it's a very simple code, but it's a banner that tells that we want to show everybody to let them know that Dreamforce is happening now. So that's very important. Everybody has to know that. But you know, we want to make sure that they understand which year we are on. So I have an Apex class that will actually, with highly sophisticated code, provide the year of this Dreamforce event. Actually, it was written last year, so let's update it. We are now in 2017. I have also, of course, a very important test class that we have to have, and again, I need to change so that my tests are successful. Okay, so I made the change to my code. In the meantime, my Scratch org is ready, so I'm ready to push the code to the Scratch org. So again, thanks to the CLI, with a single command, it will take the code that I have on the local repository on my machine and push it into the Scratch org and tells me what he has actually pushed. So I'm ready to open the Scratch org. And again, one single line, and I have to wait a few seconds. That happens sometimes, you know, the time that for the DNS to be ready to take my request. So a single line of code, and it will open the Scratch org, and you will recognize the old familiar Salesforce setup interface, where I'll be able to do some changes. We are actually going to go into the app builder, and while we'll be there, we'll do some declarative changes. Okay, so you can mix developers that do some code and maybe share the Scratch org with an admin that can then do some declarative change, and we'll pull that back. Okay, so hopefully we won't have to wait too long for this to happen, because I'd really love to show you all of that. Okay. So we're gonna reverse a bit the demonstration. I'm actually going to commit the change so that I can show you all the automation, the test automation taking place. And when the Scratch orgs actually starts, I'll be able to show you what I've planned to do on the declarative side. So let's cancel that, and I'm going to commit this code that I change. So and I'm able to push to my GitHub repository. So that's it. If I'm going to have a look at the GitHub repository now, I can see that the change that I did are actually committed and I on my repo. So I have a Travis CI hook on this. Okay. So if I'm going to have a look at Travis CI, I can see that the build has been started. Okay. So the build takes roughly 2 minutes. So we're going to have a look at another one that we did earlier. And you will recognize some of the same command I actually used. So in this Travis CI build environment, so it's creating a Scratch org, okay, pushing the code to the Scratch org, and then performing the Apex tests, okay. So my Apex tests are passed, successful, 100% coverage, very good, I'm safe here. And then since the tests are successful, I'm able to push this app into a sandbox, okay, to do continuous delivery also here. And it's done, successful, that's very good, we can continue the ALM process, okay. So I'm going to try again. And there we go. So I just started the Scratch org, so what I wanted to do a bit earlier, I can see here that the two Apex classes that I've been working on are here, and I'm going to go into the sales apps. Okay, so into the sales app, I want to make sure that the banner that announced Dreamforce is all front and center. So I can go to the app builder. Okay, this is typical admin work and making sure that the things are the right place so that they have the most impact. And the component that I developed is actually available. I'm going to save and activate. There we go. I can come back to the home page, verify after a refresh that everything is in place. Okay. So that should be 2017, but I probably made a mistake when I pushed. And so it looks good. That's exactly what I wanted to show. And so that's where we start at the same part of the process where I'm actually pulling the source. So for source pull, and it will actually get only what has changed in the Scratch org. So what I've done in the interface will actually be pulled, and I just touch at the home page. So it's a flexi page. So just pull that, add it into the repo, and now is the time where I would commit and have test automation, but we have already seen that. So as we've seen in this demo, minus the little hiccups, it's really how you can work in collaboration with different persons in the team and also collaborate as several developers thanks to a version control system, and have automation happening through tools like here Travis, but that can be Jenkins or whatever, the tools that you know and love. So hopefully after this demo and this talk, you want to get started. So the first and easy way to get started is to actually enable the dev hub in your production org. Okay, so that's very easy. You don't take a risk doing that. It doesn't change anything. And then if you have an EE or UE org, you already have Scratch orgs and you're ready to start playing with it. If you don't feel like enabling that in your production org for whatever reason, then you can still get a trial org with the dev hub enabled, so that you can do some tests and play with it without touching your production org. And the best way to actually start with Salesforce DX is actually through Trailhead. There are a few trails, and I recommend starting with the Salesforce DX development model. That is very interesting to understand the concepts of Salesforce DX. So now I'm gonna thank you for your time. I'm open for questions, and I wanna let you know that if you are actually interested into getting started with Salesforce DX, which I hope after this session, there is actually at the Twilight Compiler starting right now a session about getting started with Salesforce DX, which is timely, I would say. If any one of you has any question, don't hesitate to come to me, and I can repeat the question for everybody. Yeah.
How do you get your schema into the Scratch org? So custom objects, custom fields.
So the question is, how do you get your schema into the Scratch org? So you actually have this shape of the Scratch orgs, that when you create the Scratch org, you give it a shape with the features and everything. And then it's all about using the CLI to script the uploading of metadata and the uploading of data, so that you have something that resemble your production environment. So basically, you could have various packages or various repository for metadata that you're going to first load into the Scratch org before you're actually ready to work on what you're working on. But the main principle here is that you can automate all of that, so that you just have one command, and then there is a script running, and it will prepare the Scratch org for you exactly to the shape it needs to have, and then you're ready to do tailored stuff. No other question? Question? Yeah.
What's the best way to migrate an existing package
package that isn't a Salesforce DX project to be able to use this new technology.
Okay, so the question is, what is the best way to actually migrate an existing package to Salesforce DX? So the good news is, if you already have a package, you somehow already have this modular code and this metadata. So you can convert this package to Salesforce DX through a command line. Actually, in the documentation, you exactly have this use case, converting a package to Salesforce DX. And then you just have to verify if everything is okay, and that's a very good first step. Having packages is a very good way to start, rather than having everything as a big bunch of metadata. Okay, thank you all for your time. And if any of you has any more question, I'll be right here, happy to answer them. Thank you.